police force uses tricks to fiddle crime figures. Welcome back. So this is an article of many talking about how the police manipulate crime figures and have techniques to manipulate crime figures and are under pressure to manipulate crime figures to make them look good. And undoubtedly this will result in making you, if you're sitting in a police interview room, to make you look bad. So police force tricks to fiddle crime figures. The techniques, dubbed gaming, are used to create the illusion that fewer crimes are being committed and that the bigger proportion are being solved. Roger Patrick, a retired Detective Chief Inspector, claims that the methods are tacitly approved by senior officers, police watchdogs and the Home Office. This is from a few years ago, so things might have changed, but I'm sure the principle is still in operation. The claims will reignite the debate about the validity of crime statistics after recent figures suggested that the crime fell 4% in the second quarter of this year. So the techniques identified are cuffing, in which police officers make crimes disappear from official figures by either recording them as a false report or downgrading their seriousness. For example, a robbery in which a mobile phone is stolen with violence or threats of violence is recorded as theft from the person, which is not classed as a violent crime. Secondly, stitching, from stitching up, whereby offenders or alleged offenders are charged with a crime when there is insufficient evidence. Police know that prosecutors will never proceed with the case, but the crime appears in police records as having been solved. Now, this is what happened to me. In my case, I was arrested. I was on bail for 2.5 years. I was eventually charged, and that's another story for another video, because there were pressures on the police at that time. There was a case that went to the High Court, and the police started charging people who had been on bail for a long time, more than 4 days. I'd been on bail for 2.5 years. And so they pushed it through. The police officer pushed it off his desk. It went to the Crown Prosecution Service, and then they dropped it. But by the time it had dropped, I'd spent 3 years on bail. Skewing, so when police activity is directed at easier to solve crimes to boost detection rates at the expense of more serious offences such as sex crimes or abuse. And nodding, where clear-up rates are boosted by persuading convicted offenders to admit to crimes they have not committed in exchange for inducements such as a lower sentence. Dr. Patrick, who researched the subject for his PhD, said, "The academics call this gaming, but police officers would call it fiddling the figures, massaging the books, or the current favourite term, good housekeeping. It is a bit like the police activities that we all thought stopped in the 1970s. Serving police officers confirmed that the tricks were being used and gave examples of how they had been implemented. In one case, an offender shot at another man at close range but missed and broke a window behind his target. The offence was recorded as criminal damage rather than attempted murder. In another example, a man robbed in a city's red light district, an area he had been innocently passing through, was told by officers they would be unable to record the crime without informing his wife he had been in the area, leading to the complaint being withdrawn. One detective, who declined to be named, said, "Name any crime and I can tell you how it can be fiddled." And the article goes on. Dr. Patrick's research highlighted figures from his own force, West Midlands, which revealed what happened when senior officers cracked down on one of the gaming techniques. Rank-and-file officers were told that informal police warnings could no longer be counted as a detection for common assaults. Within 12 months, the number of recorded common assaults dropped from 22,000 to 3,000, while thousands more crimes switched to other categories, other woundings, and so on and so forth. So this really just highlights that if you're having interactions with the police, and I've done this in other videos, you cannot assume that they have your best interests at heart. You have to be cynical, because even if there might be good evidence or good grounds for investigating you and you being acquitted or the case against you being dropped because you're innocent, the police have history of trying to manipulate figures and trying to get a result so they can tick a box. So I've lived through this, so this is why my advice is to you to be very careful in your interactions with the police, because it will come back to haunt you if you're too forgiving. You've got to be cynical. Thank you for tuning in. Please do like and subscribe and check out the other videos. If you want to support me, that would be a great help and much appreciated. You can buy me a coffee. Follow the link in the description, or you can even check out the books, Mad as Hell Parts 1 and 2. Part 1 is the 899 days on bail before I was charged, and then part 2 is the 7 months of the trial preparation before the case against me was dropped. The ebook and paperback is available on Amazon. Search for Mad as Hell by David M. Anderson, and you could probably go into a bookshop and they could order it from their systems as well. And of course, if you or a loved one are experiencing legal troubles yourself, I hope you found this channel and video useful, and the very best of luck. Thanks.